Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Hearts, and today I'll be breaking down this two-game slate, a slate size we haven't seen in forever. But yeah, I'll be breaking down this two-game slate, talking through my favorites, early little core plays, as well as doing a game-by-game breakdown, getting you guys all the information you need to have a successful night. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like button and subscribe. If we get to 40 likes in this video, that'd be huge. Thank you guys for all the support on the PrizePicks video. I'll have another one out later today, so make sure to check that out. And if you guys ever need someone to talk to, just make sure to hit me up on Twitter. Like if you guys are having a rough time, I know DFS is rough, sports betting is rough, life is rough. So if you guys ever need someone to talk to, I just want to let you guys know that I'm always here for you guys. So if you need someone to shoot the shit with, message me on Twitter and I got you guys. But yeah, let's get into this breakdown. So a quick little recap of my lineup here. Um, it was just not a good lineup for me last night. I originally had wanted to enter into the big 100K to first contest. I had that entry in there. And then once we started getting all the news of different people getting ruled out, there was like 60 different ways the slate could go. So I didn't like the slate. So I just ended up pulling my money and just putting in like a little single entry, like a $2 single entry, because I was just not confident in all the different plays. And I just got super risky with the single entry, going with guys like Powell, Roddy. Can we talk about Kessler, dude? The past 2 times I played this dude, 21 minutes when they have no one on the team. They run like a 15-man rotation, give everyone 20 minutes, and Walker Kessler somehow gets the least amount of minutes, and he's not in foul trouble. I don't get it. And then the last time I played him, he played 17 minutes when I took his prize picks over. It's just I don't get the Walker Kessler situation there. It makes no sense. But in between that, he goes off for I don't know, 52, 45. It's just annoying. But yeah, I mean, just didn't have any confidence in that slate. As you can see, got super contrarian there with Jalen Duran. I just want to get super risky and see how it ended up. I think the winning lineup, I'll just go to the winning lineup in this one real fast for you guys. Just 360.5. It was Ja, Malik, Horton Tucker, Nora, Vooch, Russ, Santi, and Knox. I talked about how I really like Vooch there. Came in at 1% owned and went for a 55 bomb. He was huge. But yeah, moving on to this slate breakdown. 2 game slate. So for a small slate like this size, only 2 games, pretty much everyone's in play. And especially if no one gets ruled out. Right now, we have Grant Williams and Robert Williams questionable, which could open up a few different avenues there. Middleton's questionable, same with Jay Crowder, as well as on the Denver side, we have Jokic, who is questionable right now. So there's a few different things that can kind of pan out, which kind of opens up some more routes for us to go in terms of like value. But as of right now, pretty much everyone's in play on the board. So definitely keep that in mind. If everyone ends up getting ruled in, everyone's pretty much at full strength. It's going to take getting random at like a spot or two to kind of try and take down this 2 game slate to be unique enough. Unless you want to hold hands with like a couple hundred other people and split the 100K to first like 1,000 different ways and win like $200. You want to try to get unique. So with that in mind, moving on to this Boston Milwaukee situation. As I mentioned, the news here is obviously Grant Williams and Robert Williams, 2 big defenders that they really need versus Giannis. So right now on the Boston side, everyone's kind of priced down a bit, which not really sure why. Obviously, it's a 2 gamer, so you kind of have to bring the pricing down a bit. But it would have been nice if they kept them up a little bit higher, just because it would kind of create a little bit of leverage for people, for the sharper people, I'd say. But Jason Tatum, 10-3. Gonna be really hard not locking him in here. He did great against Milwaukee in the playoffs. Obviously, kind of ran out of steam there, but he looks fantastic here. 10-3. Obviously, the engine of this team. So I really like him. Obviously, one of my core plays for today. And I don't mind Jalen Brown. Like I don't mind, like kind of like how I say with the Denver side with Jamal Murray and Jokic. You can definitely play Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum in the same lineup, which would definitely give you some leverage on the field. So they both look really solid. They both come in at really, really nice price tags. So I like both of them a good amount here in this matchup. They're going to need both of them to, try to win this game, and it's a decently pivotal game. Now, Milwaukee is I think 3 or 3.5 games ahead of Boston, so it'd be super, super tough for Boston to kind of take over first unless they obviously win this game. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I like Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown a good amount. And now with these guards, it's an interesting situation because a lot of people will probably run to Derek White's just because they'll box score chase, like right, like they won't look at the fact that a few of these games were without guys like Tatum or without guys like Jalen Brown, and they'll just see like, oh, Derek White's been going off alongside those guys. Now, I think he had maybe one game where he actually had a very solid game alongside those guys. Otherwise, it was like either one of the stars was out and he had to step up. So, with that in mind, if people are going to flock to him, I'd rather go to Brogdon or Smart. I'd feel safest with Brogdon. Smart, does start, but he's just super, super. Um, I guess inconsistent in terms of giving you like a ceiling. Obviously, he can get you close to like 35. That's super, super solid at his price tag of 5.3K. And that's kind of what you want. Like if you play smart, getting you like 35 is huge. So I really like Brogdon and Smart if everyone's going to flock to Derek White. Now, if the ownership's going to be spread around, I would assume it's going to be Brogdon and White gaining more ownership than Smart. It really comes down to kind of the difference in ownership, the percent. But yeah, I think I feel safest going with Brogdon depending on the ownership there. But all three are definitely firmly in play. All three have a ceiling. So there's a lot to like here on the Boston side. I really don't mind loading up on them, even though it's a little bit of a tougher matchup with Milwaukee. Al Horford, kind of the same thing. Like he does have a ceiling. He just couldn't hit a shot last game, 2 of 10. But if there's no Robert Williams, if there's no Grant Williams, Al Horford should see about 30 minutes, if not more. So I'd really like him there at 5,000. Grant Williams, um, this could be a spot where he does see like mid 20s minutes. His minutes have been super inconsistent recently, just because they haven't really needed him. And even in spots where there's been like no Tatum or Brown, they really haven't been using him a ton recently. But as we saw, they used him a ton guarding Giannis in the playoffs. So this could be a big spot where they definitely use Grant Williams a good amount at 4,200. So he could be a decent value. It just depends on if he plays. The same thing with Robert Williams. If he plays, 4,100 is just way too cheap. Unless he's on some sort of minutes limits, I think he should see close to 30-ish minutes. We haven't seen in a while just because there's a blowout there against Indiana, San Antonio blowouts, and then Washington a blowout as well. So he hasn't gotten full run. Maybe they'll keep his ownership down. But if he sees close to 30 minutes, I do really, really, really like him there at 4,100. Now, if one of both of them are out, we'll see some minutes thrown to guys like Sam Hauser, Griffin, Muscala, Cornette. I mean, sure, you could take a shot on him. I'd probably feel safest with Blake Griffin. He's probably the best defender of that group, obviously, probably the biggest one as well. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't feel great about it. Sure, you could do that on like this 2 game slate, but we kind of have to wait for that news there on the Celtics side. On the Milwaukee side, Giannis comes at a super cheap price tag coming off one of the best games of the season so far for him. He looks great there. And then in terms of like the rest of the team, if Middleton is back, there's not a lot I like, which should make these guys pretty low owned and contrarian. I think that's going to be the sentiment around the public today with this. What Milwaukee side is, if Middleton gets rolled in, everyone's kind of priced up a little bit too high. I'd say like Holiday yesterday at 7.3, I talked about him, went for a 75 on, had like a career game. That was insane. So if you guys played him, I talked about how I really liked him. I unfortunately did not, but he had a huge day, went up $1,000 in pricing. So these guys are just more, solid secondary options, and they'll probably come in at very low ownership. So if you want to gain some leverage on the field, you could definitely go to Middleton, Holiday, or Lopez. Now, if Middleton's out, obviously that's more of a usage to guys like Holiday, obviously Giannis and Brook. They'd all look solid. Bobby Portis off the bench, another one of those guys off in a GPP setting that he's super boomer bust, right? Like minutes aren't always a guarantee, but he should see close to like mid 20s, and either he can get you 15 to 20 fancy points in his lowest output, or he can go for like a 50 bound. It really just depends. So he's one of those kind of GPP plays that it could either win you or tank your lineup. In terms of like the rest of the team, I don't think there's a need to get to these value pieces like Jalen Carter. Maybe if there's no Middleton, you could definitely look to him, but I just don't think there's a need to get these guys. I think Grayson Allen would probably be the best one in terms of like if you wanted to take a shot on one of them, or maybe Joe Ingles. He's been more productive recently. But yeah, right now they're kind of running these guys, Carter, Allen, Connaughton, Ingles, Crowder, even Wes Matthews. They're running them all like 15 to 20 minutes, so it's really hard to feel safe about these guys. But if I had to like choose two, it'd probably be Ingles and Allen. And then moving on to the Pelicans game here. At the top for the Pelicans, a team where thankfully there's not a lot of injury news here. Ingram, JVal, CJ. CJ's finally dropped down to cheaper than Ingram and JVal. So I do like him at his price tag. I think it's a very solid price tag. With Brandon Ingram back, we really haven't seen huge ceiling games from CJ. It's been like every couple games. He did have this stretch here at the beginning of March where he's averaging like 42-ish, 43-ish fancy points. Then he's really kind of cooled off, had one big game, cooled off again, had one big game, and it's been cooling off. So I do like him here versus Denver. Obviously, Jamal Murray, not the best defender, so I think CJ looks the best out of those three. Brandon Ingram's probably been the most consistent, as you can see here. So I think he looks pretty solid there as a spend up. And then J Val's obviously the riskiest of the bunch. I mentioned last game how they could definitely go small, and they did versus the Warriors. So that kind of paid out there if you did avoid that and listen to my advice there. But yeah, it's one of those things where now it seems like his minutes are in question. Obviously, Denver's a bigger team if Jokic does play, but not if Jokic is out. I think there could be another chance where J-Val doesn't see full minutes. So he's kind of like a Bobby Portis play. Like he'll probably see more minutes than Bobby, but he either has a super, super low floor because he doesn't get the minutes, or he's going to see 30 or more and can obviously smash. So another one of those just super risky guys that can really decide your fate on a GPP slate and a slate this small. So I just throw him in that bucket. If you want to get risky, he's one of your options, just like Bobby Portis. If you don't, I'd say avoid him. Talked about CJ. The rest of the team, Trey Murphy's been super, super hot from threes recently. And so he's kind of flashed some ceiling games. Sure, you can land on him. He's another one of those pieces like he could definitely, make your lineup pretty contrarian, but I don't think there's a need to really get to any of these wings. Um, it really just comes down to can they hit their threes. Or Josh Richardson, excuse me, has been seeing about 20-ish minutes. I guess he's an okay value there at 3,900. I don't mind it. Larry Nance, kind of one of those situations where if you think J Val gets limited, Larry Nance is the backup for him. It hasn't been great the past month and a half, 2 months as the backup. He's been injured, hasn't been 100%, but we saw last game he does have a ceiling. He can get you like 30, 40 plus, depending on how he's doing. So he's always there to take a dart throw on. And then Najee Marshall, seen about 15-ish minutes. Another one of those value pieces. Like, I don't mind getting to him. Moving on to Denver. On the Denver side here, I will say, especially if the Pelicans go small, Najee could see a few extra minutes there. If they go with like Larry Nance at center, Najee maybe at power forward, depending on how the wings are doing. But yeah, a little bit of interest in those wings there for the Pelican side. Now moving on to the Denver side here. Jokic, right now, it's looking like he might not play. I wouldn't be surprised if they play him here just because they win this game. It's an easier game to play him here than it is to play him tomorrow against the Suns. So I can definitely see this where he gets rolled in this afternoon. So definitely keep that in mind. But with him questionable, let's just say he's out for now. Obviously, that's a huge bump to guys like Jamal Murray, MPJ, and Aaron Gordon. Even a little bit of usage to guys like Bruce Brown and Caldwell Pope. But of the starting five, they'll probably bring in, assume Zeke or where do you go, Thomas Bryant. They'll probably split the center minutes. I think they're both solid value. I think Bryant's probably a little bit more better in terms of production there at 3,000. So it kind of depends on who starts, but I don't mind getting into either one of them depending on if they're going to both be the center rotation guys. Zeke can also play power forward, so maybe that's a slight edge there, but I think Thomas Bryant is the more productive of the two. Or maybe they go super, super random and go with DeAndre Jordan. If they do, I think you can make a reason to fade him. He's been terrible in the minutes he does get. So I don't think there's a need to get to him. That'd be annoying if they do start with him. Because then it'd make these other guys like Zeke and um, Thomas Bryant more risky. So let's kind of wait and see there. But in terms of like the other guys, I'd really just kind of focus on Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon. We've seen huge, huge Aaron Gordon games. I wouldn't be surprised if he's still super popular, even if Jokic does play. They forgot to put him in the last like 5 minutes of that Philadelphia game. Mike Malone admitted that he just forgot Aaron Gordon was on the bench. Not sure how you do that, especially when Aaron Gordon's like 6'10". But yeah, Aaron Gordon's a little bit too cheap there at 5,700, even if there is Jokic. I do really like Jamal Murray there at 7,800. We know he's a ceiling. Even if Jokic is in, he can still go for a 45, 50 bomb. So I like him a lot. And if Jokic does end up playing, I do like him a good amount. So now, the guys that I'm not as high on are Bruce Brown, KCP, and MPJ, just because they're kind of scoring dependent guys, right? Like MPJ's actually been doing very solid recently. So I don't mind him. But like Bruce Brown, I think people might chase him. And he's been decently consistent. 4,500 is not a bad price tag for guys pretty much getting like kind of the same fantasy production as a Marcus Smart. So I don't mind him. It just depends on like how chalky he's going to be. And then KCP is just super score independent on if he hits those threes. So that's kind of the Denver situation. Jeff Green is going to be like your value play here for power forward center. Did get a little bit of extra run. Usually sees about 20-ish minutes, but he can definitely get you there, especially if there's no Jokic. So that is kind of the Denver side right now. Really liking Jamal, really like Aaron Gordon, and really like Tatum. Let's see who else we're gonna throw in here. I think I'm gonna throw in CJ for now and kind of just leave it at that. These are the four guys I'm really focusing on as of right now. Obviously, there's some news we have to wait on, like Middleton, like the Jokic situation, which really clears up, and the Robert Williams, Grant Williams situation, which really kind of shifts the whole slate. So make sure to stay up to date with me on Twitter. Check out my Patreon link down below. I'm starting to grind out that content for you guys as well. So make sure to check that out, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.